Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video I'm going to be demonstrating how to crochet the final frost scarf. This is a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com at the link in the description. There you'll also find both the right and left-handed video tutorials, a link out to the written pattern, and links to all the supplies you need, as well as the other video tutorials that I'll reference here today. To make this pattern, you'll need a USI 5.5mm hook. This one is by Brittany. You'll also need Red Heart Chic Sheep by Marley Bird. Now, depending on the length you want to make, you could use anywhere from 1 to 3 balls, or keep going and go even longer. I made a 100-inch long scarf using 3 balls, so you can adjust from there. The length is really up to you. You'll also possibly want to add these fun faux fur pom-poms. Now, I like these a lot because they snap on and off, so I can take them right on off for washing when I want to wash my scarf later. As you can see, it's a nice firm snap. There we go. But it just snaps right on and right off. So those are optional, or you could add yarn pom-poms, whatever you like, but I'll be showing you those as well. So let's go ahead and get started on our final frost scarf. Okay, first let's take a real quick look at the finished scarf. This scarf does have this great cable pattern, so it's made from the center out, and right here is the center, so it'd be right at the back of the neck. So you make the first half of the scarf, and then you come back, attach that foundation chain, and make the second half, and I'll be demoing that as well. You can see that this points the cable pattern out so that the ends look the same, so that when we come to the ends of the scarf, let me pull them up here for you again. There we go. We can work down to these points and they will match beautifully. And then of course we've got those pom-poms on the end. Now this is a cable pattern, so there's a right side and a wrong side. On the wrong side you don't see those cables sticking up the same way that you do on the right side. So now I'll demo the actual stitches involved in the final frost scarf. Alright, so row 1 of the final frost scarf is made with 19 foundation double crochets. If you're not familiar with the foundation double crochet, I do have a separate tutorial for it linked at the link in this description. Basically, I'm going to start with a chain of 2, and then I'm going to yarn over and go into the first chain I made, pull up a loop. That will act as the chain at the bottom of my first double crochet. Then I'll yarn over and pull up a loop. That begins my double crochet, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. So that one will count as my first double crochet of row 1. I always like to put a little stitch marker in there just so I don't lose the top of that stitch. There we are, and that way I will always know that that's the last stitch when I come back the other direction. So now I'm going to continue with 18 more. So to make the next one, I'm going to yarn over, go under the bottom 2 loops there that counted as the chain at the bottom of the first stitch, pull up a loop, that will be the chain at the bottom of our second stitch, yarn over and pull through 1 to begin the double crochet, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So that is how a foundation double crochet is made. If you'd like another closer look at that, again, there is a separate video tutorial for that here on the channel and linked at the link in the description. So I'm going to continue making my foundation double crochets until I have a total of 19 stitches here on the first row. So I will see you as soon as we have 19 double crochets made. Okay, so at the end of row 1, you should have 19 double crochets. If you don't like the foundation double crochet or prefer not to use it, you can just chain and then work 19 double crochets across your chain, skipping 2 or skipping 3 and counting them as your first stitch, whichever you prefer. Then we're ready to begin row 2, which is going to be very simple. We're simply going to chain 1, turn, and single crochet in each stitch across. So at the end of row 2, we'll have 19 single crochets. So I'll see you at the end of row 2. Okay, so here we are at the end of row 2 with our 19 single crochets, and we're ready to begin row 3. Now row 3 begins with the chainless starting double crochet, and this is meant to work as a substitute for the chain 3 that would often count as the first double crochet of a row. Now I strongly recommend that you go ahead and use this stitch, and the reason being, if you look at our finished scarf, let me pull that up here one more time. If you look at it here, you can see that I haven't worked any sort of edging. The chainless starting double crochet creates a stitch that looks so similar to a standard double crochet that it doesn't have that floppy look of a chain 3. So I really feel it's important for this scarf to use this stitch. However, if you just can't get the hang of it or don't like it, you can go ahead and use the chain 3 or a chain 2 start, whichever you prefer, and then see if you want to go ahead and add a border. It's totally up to you. It will just require a little more yarn. So again, I do have a separate tutorial for this chainless starting double crochet, which I abbreviate CSDC, but I'll do it again real quick here for you now. However, if you'd like a closer look, please go to the link in the description. So I'm going to pull up the loop to the height of a double crochet, put my finger firmly on the top of that loop so it won't move, wind the loop around my hook as if it were a yarn over there, whoops, go into that first stitch, yarn over again, pull up through the stitch, yarn over, pull through that loop and behind the loop that was wound around my hook, yarn over again, and finally pull through those last 2 loops. And that is a chainless starting double crochet. So again, if you need a closer look at that, please go to the link in the description. I'm going to go ahead again and put my stitch marker right in those top 2 loops so that I know that this is my last stitch coming back the other direction. Okay, so after you've made your first chainless starting double crochet, then we double crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to front post double crochet in the stitch below the next stitch. So you want to drop down to this row of double crochets underneath and go around that post. So to do that without pulling down on our fabric, we just want to make sure to pull those loops up nice and high so we can finish off that stitch at the same height as our other double crochet stitches. You don't want that to be pulling down at all. Then we're going to double crochet in the next stitch. So just come on over here, make sure you skip the top of the stitch that you just front post double crocheted around. So I'll finish that double crochet right there. Then I'm going to begin the repeat. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to make a split front post double crochet. So to do that, I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to go around the post of the next stitch, again 2 rows below. For all our post stitches, we want to work down into the double crochets below the previous row. So I'm going to go around there like a front post double crochet, pull up my loop nice and high again. This time I'm going to yarn over and just go through the first 2 loops. Then I'll yarn over again, skip the next post, go around the post after that, pull that loop up nice and high again, yarn over, pull through those first 2, then yarn over, and finally pull through all 3 loops. And that is our split front post double crochet. Don't worry, I'll be doing that again a couple times here. Then I'm going to chain 1. And then now this can get a little confusing because normally, of course, when you work front post stitches, you just skip the top of the stitch, you work around it. But this has been a funny little move. So what we want to do is flip it over and just make sure we skip the 3 stitches behind it. Because we've got the chain 1, the split front post double crochet, and the chain 1. So we want to make sure to skip 3 stitches in behind before we work another double crochet. So if we put that stitch right there, yep, we've got 3 stitches skipped. So I'll put a double crochet in the next stitch like so, and then we're ready to do it again. Chain 1, oops, got to keep it on the hook there. There we go, chain 1. Then we're going to split front post double crochet. So we go to round the next post stitch, not the one our double crochet was worked into, but the next one. Pull our loop up nice and high, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over again, skip the next post stitch, or the next double crochet rather, and come to the next one here. Pull that loop up nice and high, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through all 3. Then we chain 1 again, and we're ready to double crochet in the next stitch. This looks like the next stitch, so I'll put my hook there and flip it over to double check. Yep, we've got 3 stitches skipped, so I can finish that double crochet. Then we chain 1, and we've got 1 more split front double crochet for this row. So I'm going to yarn over. Don't want to work around that one. I want to come over to the next one. Pull those loops up nice and high, yarn over again, skip the post or the double crochet in between, go around the next double crochet, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 3. Then I can chain 1, double crochet in the next stitch, check and make sure. Yep, I've skipped 3 back there. And phew, that's it for our repeats. After that, we simply front post double crochet in the next stitch below the next stitch here, just like we did over here. We want to come down to that double crochet, but we're just going to go straight down this time. Pull that up nice and high to sort of mirror our end. We'll just cap that off with double crochet in the last 2 stitches. So if you include the chains we just made there on either side of our split front post double crochets, once again, we have 19 stitches in this row. So for row 4, we're going to just chain 1 and turn, and we're going to single crochet in each stitch and chain space across. So again, you should have 19 single crochets at the end of row 4. So I'm going to do this with you simply because finding those chain 1 spaces can be a little tricky at first. So I've got my chain 1, I'll single crochet, in the top of the double crochet. And then the next one, remember we finished off with 2 there. Now here I'm going to go ahead and single crochet in the top of that front post stitch we did. And then the next double crochet. And then right there, we've got our chain 1 space, our split front post double crochet, and our chain 1 space. So we want to make sure to go into that chain 1 space for a single crochet, and then the top of the split front post double crochet, and then to the next chain space. And then if you remember, we had a double crochet, and then we had our repeat again, the chain 1 space, the split front post double crochet, the chain 1 space again, and then a double crochet. And we're almost all the way across our repeats here, so we've got one more set in the chain 1 space, in the top of the split front post double crochet, in the chain space again, finally running out of yarn, there we go, and then we've got our double crochet, and then we finish it off with the top of that front post double crochet and the last 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. This is where I really like having that stitch marker. There we are. So now we can count our stitches and just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So that is our end of row 4. So I'll take this stitch marker out and we'll be ready to begin row 5. Okay, so to begin row 5 of the Final Frost scarf, we're going to start again with the chainless starting double crochet. So I will pull my loop up to the height of a double crochet, put my finger on top, wind around, go in that very first stitch, yarn over, whoops, and pull up a loop. There we go. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. Then I will put my stitch marker right back in the top of that stitch, like so. Then we're ready to double crochet in the next stitch. And then we are going to front post double crochet in the post stitch below the next stitch. So remember we had our nice line of front post double crochets there on either side. That's what we're working on here in the 3rd stitch. So I'm going to drop down to that post stitch and go around it for another front post double crochet. Once again, be sure to pull that loop up nice and high so that your double crochet finishes up in line with the rest of the stitches. Then we are simply going to double crochet in the next 13 stitches. So we find the next one here, make sure we don't accidentally work into the one we worked around for that post stitch. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and as you can see here, I hope, I'm just working right into those single crochets. Don't have to bother those cable stitches down there, those split front post double crochets anymore till we get to the end here. So you can count out 13 or just keep crocheting on across until you get to those last 3 stitches. Oops, gotta pull through all my loops there. I'll just keep going here since we are so close. And then essentially this will have been our repeat. At the end of this row, you will have the entire repeat that makes this scarf until you get to the decreases at the ends. So let me see where I'm at here since I've been chatting away. We've got 1, 2, 3 stitches left. So that means we've done 13 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I'm going to make my front post double crochet, dropping down again to that one right there from below. Pull that loop up nice and high. Yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. Then just double crochet in those last 2 stitches. And that is it for row 5. So our repeat for this pattern is rows 2 through 5. Now what was row 2? Again, that was our chain 1 single crochet across. So as you make this scarf, When you get to the length you've got that you've decided you want your first half to be, whether you're following the written instructions or making your own custom length, when you are at the point where you want to start making the decreases, you want to make sure to finish your last rep with a row 2 repeat. So once again, that's just chain 1 and single crochet all the way across, and then you'll be ready to start your first set of decreases to bring it down to your first point, and then we'll come back and make the other half. Okay, so after we've finished all our repeats, we should have gone through row 133, and that's our row 5 repeat. After that, we do another row 2 repeat, which I've done right here, which is just single crochet across, of course, from the wrong side. And that was row 134. So now let's begin the decreases that create the point of our scarf together. So this is row 135, and it begins with a chainless starting double crochet, 2 together. This is a pretty unique stitch, so let me demo it for you now. I'm going to pull this loop up to the height of a double crochet and put my finger on the loop here to secure it. Then I'll yarn over with the loop itself, go into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through that loop, and behind the loop that was around my hook, maintaining tension on that first loop right there. Then I'll yarn over again, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, then yarn over and pull through every loop left on the hook. And you can see that's where I released that last loop there. Now I like to put a stitch marker in the top of that stitch so that I can make sure to work into it on the way back. If you didn't like this stitch, you can instead simply do a chain 2, double crochet in the next stitch, and mark that double crochet as your first stitch. And that will give you effectively a very similar decrease. From there, I am going to double crochet in the next stitch. And you'll notice, because of our decrease, that's the top of that post stitch, or rather the single crochet that was worked into that post stitch. That's fine. We're going to go ahead and now make a front post double crochet around that post stitch 2 rows below. Of course, pulling it up nice and high as we have been all along, like so. And then we are going to chain 1 and work a split front post double crochet. So starting right in that next row, or excuse me, that next stitch 2 rows below, we'll go around there and make our split front post double crochet, of course skipping the next one, just as we've been doing all along. There we go. Then we chain 1, and this time we're going to skip the 4 stitches back here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and double crochet in the one after that. So I'll yarn over and put my double crochet right there, like so. Then I'm going to chain 1 and make another front post double crochet. So go to the next post stitch there 2 rows below, and finish that up just as we've been doing all along before. Chain 1. This time we're going to skip 3 stitches in behind, 1, 2, 3, and double crochet in the next one. Then we chain 1 again, make our next split front post double crochet, like so. So I finished that split front post double crochet, I chain 1, and then I'm immediately going to jump over here and work a post stitch, a front post stitch around that next post stitch there, like so. And then when I come and look at the previous row, when I skip 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and work a double crochet in the next one, that'll be the top of that post stitch again. So I'll just go right into the top of that post stitch for another double crochet, and then I can finish it off with a double crochet 2 together in the very last 2 stitches. So that will finish up row 135 with 17 stitches. For row 136, we're just going to chain 1 and double crochet right back across, or excuse me, single crochet, just as we did in row 4, making sure to work 1 single crochet in each stitch and 1 single crochet in each chain space. So of course you should have 17 single crochets at the end of 136, and I will join you back here for 137. Okay, so now I've finished up row 136. I've just got 17 single crochets across there, so it's time for row 137. I'm going to start again with the chainless starting double crochet 2 together, just as I began row 135. And again, you can do a chain 2 and double crochet in the second stitch if that's what you prefer. So I will just go ahead and get my stitch marker in there so I can find the top of that stitch easily. There we go. And then from there, I am going to double crochet in the next stitch again. Then jump down and front post double crochet in that front post double crochet below. Again, make sure you pull those loops up nice and high so that it doesn't pull your work down. Then I am going to skip the next stitch and double crochet in the next 9 stitches. So I'm just going to skip the one right there and begin in the next for 9 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oop, got a little hair in there. Always seems to happen, doesn't it? There we go. Got it. All right. Where were we? 8 and 9. All right, let me make sure I got that right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oops, I did miss one. One more. 9. All right. Now with our 9 double crochets made, it's time for another front post stitch. And so I'll just hop on over to this one over here, pull that loop up nice and high, and then I can skip the next stitch back here. So this one right back here, I'm going to double crochet in the next one. So that's actually right above our post stitch. And then of course I can finish it off with a double crochet 2 together. So we get that same angle as we began with, angling in towards our point, like so. So you can see we're starting to get that angle there. And row 138, of course, is just going to be repeating row 2, chain 1 and single crochet across. So I'll see you back here for row 139. Okay, so for row 138, like row 137, you should have 15 stitches. And with that, we're ready to begin row 139. I'm going to start one more time, actually a couple more times, with the chainless starting double crochet 2 together. I just think it gives it a little finer edge, but of course you can use whatever is most comfortable for you. Get my stitch marker back in the top of that one there. There we are. And then from there, of course, I'm going to double crochet in the next stitch. We like to maintain 2 stitches on the outside of our first post stitch there. So, of course, that means it's time for a post stitch, but we're going to do this one a little bit differently. I am going to make a split front post double crochet, but I'm going to start it in this post stitch here. That will help bring that line in for a really great looking point. So I'll go around that first post stitch that we had been just working straight till now. Pull it up nice and high, of course. Pull through the first 2 there, but I'm going to yarn over then, and then come over here, skip that stitch in between, just like we normally would, and finish that off. So you can see that will incorporate that line as we come to our point there. Then I'm ready to chain 1, skip 2 of the stitches behind here, 1, 2, and double crochet in the next one, like so. Then we can handle sort of the middle of our scarf here the way we have before, with a chain 1, split front post double crochet right in the middle there, chain 1 again, skip those 3 in back there, 1, 2, 3 for our next double crochet. And then of course we're going to mirror how we started this one on this side. So we'll chain 1, and then I'm going to split front post double crochet around this next stitch and that final post stitch there on the side, like so. Then I can skip the 2 stitches back here, double crochet right above that post stitch, and then finish it off with a double crochet 2 together, like so. So that's how you make row 139 with 13 stitches. So I'm going to repeat row 4 across again, just single crocheting in each stitch and chain space for 13 stitches on row 140. So I'll be back on the right side with row 141 here in just a moment. Okay, so I've worked all the way through row 140, which had 13 stitches. Row 141 will begin the same way we've been beginning the last few here, with a chainless starting double crochet 2 together, or however you want to get a double crochet 2 together in that first 2 stitches there. There we go. Get my stitch marker in there, of course. And then I am going to double crochet the next stitch. And then I am going to work my front post double crochet around this split front post double crochet. So I want to go around the whole stitch. So I'm just going to go behind both of those two legs there that came into one. So I can yarn over and pull that loop up nice and high and finish that one off like so. Then I am going to skip one stitch behind, so right there, and double crochet in the next 5 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then I can front post double crochet in that last split front post double crochet we had there. Pull that up nice and high. That's just a regular double crochet though. And then of course I am going to skip one stitch back here, double crochet in the next, basically right above that post stitch, and then double crochet 2 together in the last 2 to finish it off again. Just like so. There we go. All right. And then of course we're ready for row 142. Same thing as row 2, just chain 1 and single crochet across again. So I'll be back with 143. Okay, so we have finished rows 141 and 142 with 11 stitches each, and now it's time for row 143. We're going to start again with our chainless starting double crochet 2 together, just as we've begun all our odd numbered decreasing rows here. Let me get my stitch marker right in the top there. There we go. Okay, and then we double crochet in the next stitch. Front post double crochet in that post stitch 2 rows below. And then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to skip over this next stitch and make our split front post double crochet. Skipping, of course, that stitch in between. That's what makes it split. There we go. Then we chain 1 again. We're just going to jump right on over to this post stitch here. Work our post stitch right around there. And then if we flip this over, we're actually going to skip, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches before we work another double crochet. And this actually, of course, just lines up right above that post stitch again, maintaining that increase or decrease rather towards a point. So we've got 2 stitches left, and those get a double crochet 2 together. Like so. And then row 144, of course, is just chain 1 and single crochet back across, working into each stitch and chain space. And then we'll be ready for 145. At the end of row 144 and 143, which we just finished, you should have 9 stitches. Okay, so now we're ready for row 145. I'm going to begin it again with a chainless starting double crochet 2 together. There we go. And then of course, we will double crochet in the next stitch. So then get my hook back in here. There we go. Double crochet right in the next stitch. And then front post double crochet in the post stitch 2 rows below. Like so. Then we are going to skip the next stitch here and work a double crochet right in the top of the next stitch. Then we are going to front post double crochet in the next post stitch. Then we double crochet in the stitch above that post stitch. So in this time we're skipping one more stitch back here. And then double crochet 2 together in those last 2 stitches. That's all there is for row 145. So that should be 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got that right. So 146 is of course just going to be chain 1, single crochet back across, and then we'll be ready for 147. And as you can tell, we are almost finished with this pattern. Okay, so we've finished through row 146, which had 7 stitches. For row 137, we're going to begin again with a chainless starting double crochet 2 together across the first 2 stitches here to maintain our decrease here. There we go. Oop, trapped my hook. There we go. Then I'm going to double crochet in the next stitch. And then for this row, I'm just going to work a split front post double crochet, but I'm going to work each half into those post stitch lines that we've been creating on our sides all along. So I'll yarn over and go around that first one there, pull it up nice and high, get down to 2 loops left on the hook, yarn over, jump on over to this one, come around it, pull through 2, and then finally pull through all 3. Then I can double crochet right above that post stitch. Always easy to tell because we're going to be double crochet twoing together, decreasing. Double crochet two togethering. I don't know where to put the ing on that, but we'll be decreasing right there in those last 2 stitches. So this one gets a double crochet and then double crochet 2 together here in the last 2. We are almost at our point here in row 147. We should only have 5 stitches left, so you can tell we're almost there. We're just going to turn, of course, single crochet back across here for row 148, which I'll just go ahead and do since it's only 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that one's easy enough. There we are. And go ahead and take that stitch marker out. And then we can make row 149. Okay, so to begin row 149, which is the second to last row of the pattern, we're going to start with a chainless starting double crochet 2 together. There we go. Then I am just going to double crochet in the very next stitch here, like so, and then double crochet 2 together over the last 2 stitches. This brings us down to just 3 stitches left. So for row 150, I turn it here, and rather than working single crochet across and doing it again, we're just going to go ahead and finish it off. So I'm going to do kind of an odd little stitch here. If you are using the pom-poms on this pattern, then you may not want to use this stitch. You can use something simpler, whatever makes you happy, but this is how I like to finish it off. I'm going to pull it up again as for a chainless starting double crochet and yarn over with that loop and go in the first stitch and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. Then I'm going to yarn over and go to this next stitch here, the one right in the middle, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. But rather than finishing it off like I've been doing for the chainless starting double crochet 2 togethers, I'm going to go ahead and yarn over again and go into this third one right there, marked with the slip stitch or the stitch marker. Pull up that loop, pull through 2, and now it's like I've got 4 loops left on the hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all those loops to finish it off to a really great looking point. Now again, if you don't like, I know that was a little complicated, so if you don't like it, you can chain 2, double crochet 2 together in the next 2 stitches, however you like to get down to a really nice point. And again, a lot of that's going to be covered up with the pom-pom anyway if you add the pom-poms, so however you like to come to that point is great. After that, of course, you can go ahead and cut your yarn, leaving enough to weave in those ends, and then we'll be ready to go ahead and add the second half of our final frost scarf. Okay, so back to the little swatch we were making. This is just those first 5 rows, but I'm going to pretend it's the finished first half of my scarf. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here, and this is that very first row we made, that very first foundation double crochet row. And you can see that my cables are pointing this direction. That's the direction we were working. So what we want to do is find that very first row we made, and we're going to turn it over to work from the wrong side. So that's the side without the cables. So let me put that down for a second, and I will pick up my yarn here. So you can join however you like. You can join with a slip stitch, you can join with a single crochet, however you like to do it. But the point is you want to work 19, again, we've got 19 stitches here, 19 single crochets right across that foundation chain. So sometimes with foundation double crochets, it can be difficult to find exactly where those 19 stitches are. That very first stitch down there can be a little tricky and try and hide from you. So what I actually like to do is take a stitch marker and find that bottom of that very first stitch right there, or actually it was the last one I made, but it's always a little bit easier to find that one. And then I can count back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And that always helps me find right where I want to put my hook for that first stitch there. So don't be afraid to count backwards if you're getting a little confused. If the stitch at one end is a little easier to find, just make sure you've got 19 across, and then you can go ahead and join your yarn. I'm just going to join with a slip stitch here and make a single crochet right back down into that stitch. So there's one, and then I will just single crochet right on across that foundation chain. Now, if you decided to start with a regular chain and then double crochet into it, it will be helpful here if you've double crocheted into the back hump rather than under the top 2 loops, because that leaves you these great top 2 loops to work into now. But if you didn't, if you like to work the other way into the chain, that's okay too. Just work right across that very first foundation chain from the wrong side of the scarf until you've got 19 single crochets made. And I will see you after we have finished row 1 of the second half of our scarf. All right, so when you've worked 19 single crochets across the bottom of that foundation chain, we're going to go ahead and turn and continue with our second half of the scarf. Row 2 of the second half is exactly the same as row 5. So we're just going to yarn over and make our chainless starting double crochet right in that first stitch there. Normally I'd go ahead and put a stitch marker in there, but you've seen me do this row before. So I'm just going to double crochet in the next stitch. And then I want to go ahead and make that foundation double crochet. We're going to jump down again. This will be that double crochet in the first row that we're working around here. So that one we jumped down to when we started making our foundation double crochet line on the first half, we're going to go right around that same double crochet from the other side. Still pull up those loops nice and high. But there we go. You see that will continue that line on either side of our scarf really beautifully. Then we're just going to double crochet in the next 13, just like we did with row 5, until we've got 3 stitches left here. So I will get these done. All right, so with 3 stitches left, I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to drop down again to that first double crochet, or rather that double crochet of the first row that we went around there. Pull up my loop nice and high. Finish that foundation, or front post double crochet, I should say. There we go. And then just double crochet in those last 2 stitches. 1 and 2. There we go. Might not hurt to put a stitch marker in that one as well. And that finishes off row 2 of the second half of the Final Frost scarf. So to continue this pattern, just begin again with row 2 through row 5, that's your repeat, remember, of the first half. So back to row 2, which is that single crochet across, and then you've got your cable row, another row of single crochet, and then the plain double crochet row. Just maintain those post stitches along the sides. So let's take another quick look at the finished scarf. Okay, so if we take another quick look at the finished scarf here, you can see this would have been our first row of double crochets. I've got those foundation double crochets both coming down to that one there. So as we make our 2 halves, we get the cables pointing in 2 opposite directions. And then of course, on both halves, we finish off with this great point. And then once again, I just want to show you a closer look at those pom-poms that I used, which I've linked in the tutorial as well as in the written pattern. They come with the button, snap, I guess I should say, already sewn onto the pom-pom, which is great, as well as with the other half. They just come looking like this. You want to make sure to sew them this way so that they work together, not this way. But you just take some matching thread, sew them right on the point, and then of course you can pop them on and off for washing, which I really like. Of course, that's totally optional. You can make them out of yarn if you wanted to, or just leave them with a straight point, which could also be quite an elegant look. But that is how you make the Final Frost scarf. So once again, this uses Red Heart Sheep by Merlybird and a US eye hook. You can definitely adjust the length of this scarf to whatever you like. It's always going to be about 5 inches wide, but you can make it as long as you like. I used 3 skeins to get a long 100-inch scarf, which I love because I can wrap it around my neck a bunch, but you can use whatever you like and however much you like. So if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. And of course, go to the link in the description for everything you need to make the Final Frost scarf. Thanks so much for watching.